Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. So this video was inspired by a comment 10 days ago where it says, "You're building a cult," and I think this guy's a fan. I don't know. Maybe in my imagination he is. But I was just thinking, did I become an accidental cult leader? It reminded me of the episode of The Simpsons where Homer becomes like the leader of the Stonecutters, which is kind of like a parody of the Skull and Bone Society. And I don't know if you ever seen that video where like that college student back many years ago is asking like, "Hey, John Kerry, aren't you part of the Skull and Bone Society?" And then he just like says something. And then he gets like tased. I don't know if you ever saw that video. Well, here's the thing. I promise I'm not in any sort of secret society, but I wonder if I did become an accidental cult leader. Um, and I guess I don't know if you ever saw the rule Fight Club, but there's like a rules to the Fight Club, which is I guess kind of like a cult. Uh, but the first rule is no savings, right? That's if I'm gonna be the leader of something, right? It's gonna be this thing that says, hey, we're just not gonna have any savings, especially if we're paying off debt. In fact, let's look at the definition of cult. A system of religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or object. A relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. This one is a misplaced or excessive admiration for a particular person or thing. I feel like this definition fits the best of where we're at. So basically, excessive admiration, possibly misplaced for no savings, right? And let's look up culture. Maybe culture has a more appropriate definition. The customs, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group. So I guess this one would fit in too, that we have a culture, and the culture emphasizes zero savings, right? Zero savings, right? What's the first rule of this? No savings. So let's just do another velocity banking demonstration. So if you don't know what velocity banking is, all it is a debt payoff strategy using lines of credit as your main tool. And the main rule of the strategy is that we're essentially going to do the opposite of what most Americans taught, which is to have zero savings, right? So if you look at any personal finance guru or mainstream personal finance, especially like Dave Ramsey, you're taught that you should save up to $1,000 in your savings account, right? And then pay off some debt. And then once you paid off some debt, then you're gonna have 3 to 6 months of savings and expenses. So it's like get $1,000, pay off some debt, and then 3 to 6 months. Now, this is what we're gonna do. When we're doing velocity banking, it's just zero savings until the end. Like if you look at my checking account or savings account statements, that's always a zero because the moment a check comes into a bank account, it's already into the line of credit, right? So the actual strategy, which we'll go over, is that your entire paycheck is going to go into a line of credit, your expenses out, and the savings, which is zero, is essentially going to be what we call cash flow. Okay, so basically, there's really two requirements to this. Number one is a budget, and our budget is essentially our tax plan. And what we're trying to do is just get rid of our debt. Okay, the more debt, I'm sorry, let me say this again. If we don't have any debt, then velocity banking is useless, right? Because it's a debt attack plan essentially. And think of your cash flow as like a bucket of water with holes. And every time there's a hole, you got to patch it up. So every debt that you pay off, that's a patched up hole in your bucket of cash flow. Okay. So now we need a line of credit as our main operating account. So what's a line of credit? All it is a financial tool where you could borrow money, pay back, and use it over and over again. So if you have a credit card, that's essentially a line of credit. Although there are other types of lines of credit that have more advantages, like a personal home equity line of credit. We're just going to assume because we are a homeowner in this example, we have a home equity line of credit. Right? It's kind of like a credit card based on the value of your home. But the cool thing is, it has lower interest rates than a credit card, and you can use it to pay anything. So think about this. Can you use credit card one to pay credit card two? No. Can you use credit card one to pay a student loan? No, absolutely not. So now let's go ahead and do the velocity banking side of this, right? And so what we're going to do is just do a minor tweak, right? So we're going to do a simple debt transfer, and we're going to try to increase this cash flow number right here, this cash flow number. So right now, this cash flow number is the same because we haven't transferred our debt into that line of credit as our main operating account. And so we're going to just do these two credit cards. There's a method to this madness, right? So what we're going to do is transfer these two credit cards, and it's going to be 17,000, right? And what happens when we simply transfer these two credit cards? Oh my goodness, 1,400, right? So we went from 856 to 1,400 in one swoop, and we're going to put our entire paycheck into this line of credit. And so what that does is it does two things. It satisfies the minimum monthly payment, right? And it decreases the interest accrued because the interest is based on the average daily balance, right? So every statement we're going to have, it's going to go down about 1,400 plus the interest that accrues. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get the previous month's balance, previous month's interest, and subtract it by our cash flow. See, our savings we had 856, but when we said screw the savings, we're going to go to zero again, aka the first rule of Fight Club, no savings. And this is me, your new leader. No, I'm just kidding. Zero savings. It's going to be 1420.75, right? And then to get the interest, it's just calculated by the average daily balance, right? You get the average of these two functions, multiply it by the interest rate, which is 0.1, and then you divide it by 12 because you want the monthly interest. You know, you see the interest is APR. A stands for annual. You want the, I guess, I don't know if MPR is an actual, what's it called? Abbreviation, but maybe they should call it MPR. I don't know. So, but APR is the annual one, the monthly one is divided by 12, right? So now what we do is we just wait till the sucker goes to zero. And oh my goodness, after about a year, right? After about 1 year, we just paid all the 17 grand of debt off. No problem. We're fine, right? So let's go ahead and write this as our milestones of how long it took for us to pay off 17K of debt, right? So these two credit cards. That's kind of like the mantra of velocity banking is that we're going to have zero savings. Like that's the first rule of Fight Club. And then we're going to increase this cash flow number as much as possible. So after 12 months, we got to figure out what the balance of student loan, auto loan, mortgage. Folks, some of you might have like other loans like buy now, pay laters. We want to get rid of those too. But I figure that everybody has a student loan, auto loan, mortgage. I've never had an auto loan before because I only had hand me downs. But here's the thing, some of your student loans, they may be crazy and not proportional to your income because the US government guarantees your student loans, right? So like regular banks do like undo underwriting and stuff. And you know, for an 18-year-old with no income, they would never do that unless they were like guaranteed by the government, which they are. And if you don't, I don't know if you ever heard this, that student loans are the biggest asset of the federal government, right? Isn't that crazy? So you might have like a $200,000, $300,000 student loan, but not have commensurate income. So you, unfortunately, you know, sometimes you just can't, or doing the strategy is going to be harder if you have a really really high balance that doesn't that doesn't what do you call it, commiserate, no it's not the right word, that isn't in line with your income. Let's say that way. Okay, so now we got to figure out what the balances of these are after 12 months. So luckily we have this loan amortization. So what we do is we just kind of put it in 30,000 after, no, I'm sorry, what's the loan term? 5 years? No, student loan is 10 years. And then the interest rate is 4.5. And then we just got to look after a year what the balance is. So 27 grand, right? So now we just go ahead and post this 20, whoopsie, not here. Ah, maybe I got too many things loaded. So let me just go here. and 27 grand, right? So 27 grand. My computer is going crazy. Okay, so 27 grand, and then let's look up the auto loan. So 20,000 at 5 years, and then 4%, and then after 1 year, it's going to be 16 grand. Okay, so now let's go take a look here, and then our mortgage at $200,000 at 30 years is going to be at 6% is going to be 197. So 197. Okay, so now let's do this. What shall we do? Now we got to figure out if we're going to focus on that student loan, the auto loan, or the mortgage, right? And there's the two ways to figure out the debt payoff criteria. Honestly, I like using the cash flow index, even though it ignores the interest rate, because it solely focuses on your cash flow. So basically, the way that you measure this is you take the statement balance and then you divide it by the monthly payment. So think about this. Would you pay $16,000 to get $368 back, or would you pay $27,000 to get $310? You would want to pay this one because this gives you more bang for your buck, right? Regardless of the interest rate. So even though this has a slightly higher interest rate, I'd want to pay this off so I can free up this cash flow. But there's this traditional debt payoff criteria, but let's focus on the cash flow index. So to calculate the cash flow index, all you got to do is just take this current statement balance divided by the monthly payment, and it's really easy. So 27,569.29 divided by 310.92, and then this one is 16,312.93 divided by 368.33, and then this one is 197,543.98 divided by 1200. Oh, I'm just screwing up today. I'm sorry, your cult leader is screwing up. Okay, 164.62. So let me make this into red color. So basically, the cash flow index, the way that it works is that you want to take the lowest number, right? The lowest number, and pay that off quickly, because that one is based on, or I'm sorry, that one, when you pay it off, frees the most amount of cash flow compared to the balance of your debt, regardless of the interest rate, right? So let's just say I moved the 16 grand here into my $20,000 line of credit. So let's go ahead and move that, and we'll do this, okay? All right, so now, since we did that, how much cash flow is freed up? Well, now it's 1789. 1789.08. So let's just go ahead and pay this sucker off, right? So minus 17,1789.08, right? And then we just keep going and going, kind of like the Energizer Bunny. I don't know if they ever play advertisements the Energizer Bunny anymore, but now after 23 months, okay, this thing is completely paid off, right? This auto loan. So 23 months, 17K plus 20K is 37K, right? And then, whoopsie, not 37J, 37K. Now the next thing to focus on is the student loan. So we just got to figure out what that balance is after 23 months. So let's go here. I know I'm going a little bit quick, but I'm a master ninja of the calculator, and I don't want to keep you here all day because these videos are usually like 15 to 20 minutes long. So 30,000 at 4.5%, 10-year, 4.5, and then let's go in here, 23 months. So it's almost before the second year. So 23, so it's going to be 25, 2.317. Woo! All right, so let's go ahead and do this. Okay, now we've already paid this off, so let's delete this. Okay, and then the balance of the mortgage, let's erase that right now because honestly it doesn't matter. Now, if the cash flow index is above 50, right? 25,243.1 25,243.17 divided by 310.92. If it's above 50, the loan is considered to be, quote, inefficient, or that's the explanation based on the people who made the concept, which is The Wealth Factory by Garrett Gunderson, right? So anytime you have a, quote, inefficient, not, is it inefficient? That's the right word? Or efficient, I'm sorry, efficient. If it's above 50, it's an efficient loan, meaning that you don't, the amount of cash flow it takes up compared to the loan is really not that much. My suggestion is just to pay this off into what we call chunks or pieces, right? So basically, what you're going to do is transfer the principal about $5,000 or around the size of your income into that line of credit. So even though it's a higher interest rate, it really, as long as it's just a reasonable sum, it's going to have the same effect as completely overpaying your loan, but not destroying your cash flow, right? So the reason why we're afraid to pay off loans directly is because of something called segregation of income, which essentially destroys our cash flow. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, look up segregation of income video on this channel. All right, so now let's go ahead and do maybe like $5,000 chunks. Now, luckily, we have this Velocity banking calculator that will do all of that for us, right? So if I put in $5,000 and move it to the line of credit, so the basic premise is that this 5,000 or 25,000 will return to 20,000, 20K, and then you move $5,000 into the line of credit. So like this. So if I go plus 5000, and then I just keep, so look how long it takes to pay it off in about 2 months, right? And then you just rinse and repeat over and over again. That's the whole idea of it. Although this is like the poor man's way of doing it because you're not taking into account that you're making the monthly payment. So it's actually going to reduce faster with that monthly payment taken into account. And that's what this more elaborate calculator does. And it's provided by Renatus because this is where I first learned Velocity Banking from in 2017. Um, and so, full disclosure, I'm actually a third-party reseller of the product, so I make commission off of selling Renatus Education. So, just wanted to be aware that where I originally learned this from and where I got this calculator from. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to fill in the numbers and see how long it takes to pay off whatever it is that we're doing. So the student loan, 30,000, 30,000. The current balance is 25,243.17. All right. And then the interest rate is 4.5, 10 years. 310.92, 310.92, 5,000, 10% interest rate line of credit. And then what's our monthly income? $5,000. And then our expenses are everything except for the loan we're trying to pay off. So it would just be these two. And then it'll be 2,900. 2,900. Okay. So 2,900. And wow, we'll pay this off in 1 year. Fantastic. And look at the amount of interest that we save, right? So let's go ahead and put 1 year. So that's just going to be just adding 12 months to this. So what's 23 plus 12? So it's 35 months plus, so 35 months. So it's 37K plus 30, which is 67K. Okay, awesome. And then last thing is now the mortgage, right? So this goes to zero. And now we have 2,100. Again, this is our very last thing, right? So we can put it the savings that could potentially have into our loan directly, or we do it through a line of credit. Now, again, this is up to you. If you want to just put in directly cash directly into the mortgage, that's perfectly fine. But there's a reason why you won't do that intuitively, because like you put it all in. It's like, what if I need some money and I get it back? Can I get it back? No. But when you do it with the line of credit, it's much easier, especially when you could just dump all your money in one place, right? So let's go ahead and do that. And then now we're going to do the same thing, but with this bigger limit. So let me go ahead And oh, I got to reload. Okay. So what is the balance of the mortgage at 35 months? Right? So 200,000 at 30 years and then 6% and 35 months. Let's go ahead and take a look. So 35 months, which is 192. Uh, okay. All right. So now what we do is just plug and play in our calculator. Because here's the thing, once we maximize this cash flow number, then we attack the mortgage because the mortgage takes us the least amount of cash flow compared to the loan balance, right? So let's go ahead and plug it in. So now what's our balance? It's 2000, and then our current balance, and we already copied that. It's right here. All right. What's the interest rate? 6.30, and our actual 1199.1. 1199.1. And then now what we do is reduce this cash flow number to our general expenses because we put in all expenses except for the loan we're trying to pay off. So 1700 right here, and I'm going to put 1700 right there. Oh, 5.8 years? That's crazy. That's crazy. Okay, so 36,000, 5.8 years. So let's go ahead and do this. So 35, 5 divided by 12 plus 5.6. So 8.5 years debt free. We gotta do one of those Dave Ramsey debt free screens, although Dave Ramsey will be pissed that we used a HELOC, right? But let's just do a quick Google search. Dave Ramsey debt free screen. You can schedule your debt free screen. What if you like did this strategy and used the HELOC and then schedule this? Man, I think Dave would yell at you. But okay, so back to the point of the video. The first rule of Fight Club is no savings, and maybe I just figured out now I'm an accidental cult leader. No, I'm just kidding. Well, if I am, I'll be pretty terrible at it, like Homer Simpson. All right, well, this is Korean Atlanta Mentorship. Have a great night and practice your velocity banking spreadsheets. Speak next time. Bye, everybody.